Good afternoon, everyone. So nice to see so many faces here joining us, even though it's at the end of the day. I know we've all had a long day listening to some really rich material, and I would really love to thank the committee for organizing this and for having us here. My name is Emily, and I run a program called the ACE Approach. It's a mindfulness program where I go into schools and teach students, and all the way from JK up into grade 12. And I also work with teachers and parents.
So my name is Jazz Jeets. I did my PhD at the University of Toronto, and I've been doing a lot of research on mothering and stepmothering. And I think the best way to start is actually to have a quote. Did we get to that?
Well, just in terms of the goal of this workshop is we strongly believe in an experiential, collaborative approach to learning. So this may be a little bit different from what you guys have experienced throughout the day, in that the facilitators are going to just be talking in front of a big PowerPoint. Instead, today we're actually going to be learning and exploring together and learning from each other in terms of how we can incorporate more mindfulness into parenting. And so Jazzy and I have designed this particular workshop in a way that is going to get us up out of our seats, doing different activities that will help to bring forward a lot of the concepts and the foundation of mindfulness.
So most of the workshop will be experiential, because we're hoping that you can also have a feeling of mindfulness today. We're a bigger group than we expected, so we're hoping everybody will work with the fact that it's maybe not going to run as, we're going to have a little bit of a thick squeeze, but we're just going to focus on, again, the experience of mindfulness as well as self-reflecting on how it personally can be brought into your lives.
And your journey. So I think, we will start with a quote.
So this was a book that I wrote. This was actually this is my PhD dissertation. It was called Stepmothering: A Spiritual Journey. And in this book, basically what I'm talking about is the process of self-transformation that I've been through as a parent when I encountered a hard time in my life, and how I went from always thinking externally that the problem was somebody else's fault, or that the problem was my stepfather's fault, or that the problem was my child's fault, to going on this deep journey of actually trying to understand what I could change about myself and what I needed to learn more deeply about myself in order to connect more deeply with my family, with the person in my family, which was my two stepdaughters and my children in the house. As well as essentially to connect more deeply, really with myself and understand myself better. So this is a quote. The quote I'm going to read is from Mangal Anshamwati, who was a spiritual teacher who's played a very significant influential role in my journey of self-transformation. A journey into parenthood is an unknown adventure. We enter with the skills and limitations we have learned from our parents and caregivers. How this journey will unfold cannot be said. It is a mystery. In the end, we will have participated in the creation of a unique human being. This is our fruit, but the true nectar of parenthood is self-knowledge. Mangala Ajahn.
And this brings forward a real foundational aspect of mindfulness, and that is the ability to turn within and to notice and be aware of ourselves in the moment, and take this opportunity for self-understanding and self-awareness. So we are going to be bringing forward four main pillars of mindfulness in relation to parenting, and that is authenticity, vulnerability, modeling, and presence. And presence is very much so connected to deep listening. So these are the elements that we're going to be practicing today and exploring together. So we first wanted to offer you all a mindful practice of coming into support of the ground beneath you. And allow yourself to just relax and feel a sense of calm. Relax your face. Relax your shoulders. Your stomach. Relax your legs. And even your feet. And bring your attention, your full awareness to your breath. And notice your breath moving in and out of your body. Try to become fully present with just your breath as your anchor of concentration. Notice what it's like as you inhale. Notice what it's like as you exhale. And as you inhale and exhale deeply, start to feel more and more calm, more and more present. If you notice any thoughts or distractions, simply notice. And then bring your attention back to the breath. Observing it. Moving in and out. When you're ready, slowly, gently move your hands, open your eyes, and simply notice. Become aware of the shift of when you first got in here. And the big element of what mindfulness offers is this idea of self-care, inner wellness. Because as a parent, this is a selfless journey where you're just always giving, and that's a beautiful thing. But in order for us to really give fully and to really give from a place where we feel is our best being, we need to nurture that within us. So practice of mindfulness can help not only bring self-awareness, self-reflection, but also those moments of peace and calm that every parent needs. Taking that time.
It's also something that you can practice throughout your day. It's the easiest thing that you can change about your circumstance. You might have complete chaos in the morning, or you might have chaos right before bed. But the one thing that you can change about that circumstance in that moment is just five minutes of mindfulness can help you feel more grounded, and also just help you feel more present in that moment, which I will tell you from experience makes a huge difference in how you interact with your children and how you interact with your family members. And also, most importantly, I would say it really makes a big difference in how your emotional state as a parent in that moment, which, like I said, it could be a joyful moment, it could be a happy moment, it's sadness, whatever it is, but it allows you to connect with yourself in that moment. It just makes a really huge difference.
So I'm a teacher by trade, so I go into schools and I teach children all about these techniques and really offer what I have found to be a huge benefit in my life. And it's amazing how when I get up in front of the room and I model these feelings of feeling calm and feeling self-reflective and self-aware, they too are coming into that space of self-reflection, self-awareness, and a sense of calm. So as parents, that's also something that we can do, which is one of the main pillars of mindfulness, and that is modeling. Because the children are always watching. And we can model ways to handle strong emotions. We can model being present. We can model collaborative problem solving. There are many tendencies that we have as parents and as adults, as teachers, that get us into a mode of feeling like we need to control a situation. And that's one thing that we can really be aware of as adults, that feeling, that need to control the situation out of fear. But ultimately, we need to honor the wisdom that surges through the children's bodies and who they are as beings, and really allow them to come into that relationship of problem solving together and offering choice. So it's huge.
And in a way, if we're bringing mindfulness into our homes, what we're kind of modeling for a child also is just kind of like what Ruth Ferguson was saying. We're modeling for them how we want them to be as adults. So as adults, do we want them to be stressed out? Do we want them to be worried? Do we want them to be have very strong emotions when things happen in life? Or do we want them to feel fully connected with themselves and with their lives, regardless of what the circumstances around them? Right? So do we want, because as parents it's really easy, and I'm saying this really from experience, also with a stepmother, it is so easy for us to expect our children to behave in a way that we don't behave. So you listen to X, Y, and Z, but then if we were to look at ourselves more really deeply, we don't do those things that we wish our child to do, right? So and we was talking about the modeling piece, and I was, again, this is 100% my experience. I never taught with my stepdaughters especially, like modeling was the only way that I could shift our relationship and have us change things so that we moved from feeling conflict to feeling more of a deep connection. There's nothing else I could say or do other than just be that way myself, and then they would interact with me differently. So this is just a piece that I just feel is so important, just to remember that piece about how our children are really just following us, modeling our behavior back to us.
They're always reflecting. So we thought that maybe we can do an activity. And this activity requires us to split into two groups. So from you and the gentleman on the chair or the desk there, I'm going to take this group out into the hall, okay? And then Jasdeep will be with this group for this time being, and then we're going to come back together in about 2 minutes. So, yeah, that's good. Okay, come on up.
We were thinking that we were sitting down, but thinking that it'd be like standing up together. Numbers will be, I'm sure it'll be So for this activity, we're going to focus on deep listening, which is, so deep listening is kind of like one of the, again, foundations of mindfulness, which is this idea that if you bring your full presence, if somebody gives you their full presence when they're speaking, then that in itself allows you to really feel your full presence as well, right? So we all know how it feels, how great it feels when somebody's really listening to our conversation. So for this, so what you're going to do, what your group is going to do, is you're going to partner with somebody from that group and answer the question, what was your most memorable and enjoyable family vacation and why? Okay, and if it hasn't been a recent vacation that you have, just what was your most memorable and enjoyable family time together with your family, okay? So you're just going to talk to that, whoever that person that you're paired up with, you're just going to answer that question with that person, probably for maybe 2 minutes. And after that, I'm going to give you another question after we have that first question. And the second question is going to be, what is the greatest challenge you face as a parent? But we're going to answer the first one. And then I'll let you know that it's time to go to the second one. Okay? So very, very straightforward activity. And we're not going to give it away, except that the whole purpose is to kind of understand through an experiential way how offering presence through listening, like how much of an impact that can have on another person. Okay? And I would say that as a parent, especially on children, right? As we all know, there's so many times when our children may try and talk to us. And every person, we have so many things that we're juggling.
Okay, they're gonna come out here.
So we have room out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you guys come out, find a partner and then do what Justine said. Did you tell them?
Yeah, the first question, which is, what was your most memorable and enjoyable family vacation and
We
why?
ask it or they answer?
No,
You
you're
tell the
answering.
story.
Yeah, you're answering this question, and maybe you can think
Are they
about.
gonna ask? We'll just go off and stop here.
You just talk to them. Tell them the story.
You're going to go up and start talking to a person. Yeah.
Okay, come on in.
So come on up. And if you move over, then
Oh, Jesus, I'm a stranger.
It's like in a confined space.
Okay, and don't tell them this yet. We come back.
I don't know how they're doing this.
Oh, I see. We're supposed to be like. No, I guess you're supposed to be the child. You're supposed to be the parent. Yeah, like, and you're trying to tell me something. Yeah, and we're kind of like, I'm cooking, I'm doing, right? And you're like, yeah, I'm listening to you, whatever. Yeah, right? So now we're going to so I think they're going to ask you how you feel. Did you like be heard?
And then when you said you need this, I'm like, oh, I can't do this to her. It's like, everybody's sitting at the bar. Just don't pick me.
Maybe that's why.
I'm like, I can't do it.
She introduced herself. She said, I hate this and I don't like talking to people. So right away I said, I can't do it. And I was so relieved that we were a threesome. And I'm like, oh, she's got it. I don't have
Okay, so for those of you who are still in the dark a little bit about this, my group that I took out there was offering you guys presents, who was telling the story, presents for only a little bit of time, 30 seconds, and then they were going to subtly take their presents away. Okay? They were subtly taking away. I believe you were just like, oh, yeah. They were subtly taking their attentive, full listening away. Okay? What was the experience?
like not being able to do it, or I was going to say part, is because I hate when people do it so much.
I know.
I And if my husband's talking to me out of the side of his face, I grab his cheeks and I
Because what's the feeling?
I'm here, I don't know this, I'm important.
So how can you create relationship when you're not fully listening, when you're not fully offering your presence? So often we do this with children. As teachers, we do it all the time. 30 children in a room, how can you? But you can when you're more aware of it. And as parents, it can happen. What else did you guys notice? What was your experience?
I thought my partner was, like I introduced myself, made direct eye contact, and then I thought it was making him uncomfortable. Because his eyes started wandering, so then I make my eyes wander. I eventually just said so that he just kind of scared because I'm like, God, it's like uncomfortable.
Awkward, yeah.
Yeah, but that's just a really good point though about how you felt, like how you felt inside yourself and how you almost start to think about yourself a certain way based on how somebody was behaving with you.
What I felt was the silence. Yeah, the silence I felt. I mean, yeah, it was interaction, but yet there was still that silence.
There was the divide, right?
Yeah.
My partner, she rushed up to get the phone, and I was so annoyed. I was like, really? Shouldn't you be doing this? She's like, I'll be back in a minute.
I was like, oh. I love that you felt annoyed and angry. I mean, I'm sorry that we put you guys through that, but also aware of when you're feeling annoyed or angry, and being aware doesn't necessarily, when you are aware of it, when you're mindful of it, you don't necessarily have to react from that emotion. You can be aware of it, feel what it feels like in the body, listen to the thoughts that are associated with that emotion, but respond with choice. Huge for parenting, because we get triggered so easily, right?
And often when we don't give our children, often when we don't give our children our full presence, they just keep asking. Like they don't just go away. They're going to keep asking and asking and asking. And often that's the point where the parents get triggered, and you may react with anger or irritation, or just distraction. Like you keep doing what you're doing, but you pretend you're listening, right?
Full listening, full presence eliminates seeking behavior. Yeah.
So with my partner, she was telling me a story, and she's, she ran out of words to say because I guess I wasn't showing enough interest, or maybe she really ran out of words to say. But inside my head, I wanted to say, "Tell me more. This is really interesting. I want to know. Like, tell me more about you go up north. You tell me. I want to hear about it." But I'm thinking like when you're not giving those proper signals, then you really don't get more. When there's a lot that could come.
And we're always watching. People in relationship, we're always watching. We're not only hearing, we're watching the body language as well, the eye contact, the feeling even. You can feel when someone's not with you. And
I like that point that you just made.
yeah.
You wanted to know more, and I think we would all like to know our children better. We think we know them inside out, but we'd sort of like to know them better, as it's particularly as we age. By tuning out like that, and I've done it many times. I just don't want to hear any more about Minecraft. I find myself tuning out, and there's something that he's trying to tell me about himself through this. Maybe I should just stop. The dishes will wait, and I'll listen.
Yeah. And it creates that deeper connection.
I'm just going to say
They
that
want to connect.
just a quick point was that sometimes they don't let us know deeper parts of themselves until we listen to some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes the deeper part doesn't even come out, like you were saying, right away. It comes out after the more superficial. It might seem like a superficial conversation, but for them it's really important.
Yeah.
And if we listen to those moments in their lives that are actually really important to them, like who wanted Minecraft, for example, or what they're creating, then I feel like, then what I've seen is that then they'll come to us more when they're, because they feel like that presence is there, so then they'll come to us more and open up more other times.
What would be some ways you recommend on the, for example, storytelling side to garner that attention from the other side?
From the child.
So, for example, if I were to ask my kid how things are going, nothing, everything's fine. Yes. There's not a whole lot of
You know what I would, well, when there's, sometimes we ask, sometimes as parents we ask questions at a time when the child isn't going to answer them. And so we have to think about it. This is when I'm talking about the self-reflective piece. Like, if somebody was to ask you, how's it going, and you're not really going to talk, you're going to give them up. You might only give a one-word answer. If somebody was to ask you that, and you were in that moment where you actually were feeling like you want to talk, you may express more deeply, right? So, in a way, what you're saying is, how do we create that relationship where we actually get to those deeper conversations? And sometimes it's finding those moments for that child when that child is in the mood. It's also dependent on each person's relationship. For example, my children often, we're driving in a car and I have a rule which is no phones in the car. So after a while they get bored and they'll start talking. Just because we're all over the car together, and I'll just casually ask questions, and eventually they'll start responding. Sometimes it's those moments of quietness at bedtime, or maybe it's on the weekend, first thing in the morning. Whatever it is for your child, I don't know. But I'm just going to say that sometimes it's like we think that they don't want to talk to us, but actually it may not be the right time that we ask that question, that we're not going to get that deeper response that we want.
Or it could also be the question as well.
Exactly, yeah.
I teach the same kind of question, so how's your day? And, now what I'm trying to do is just, don't ask that kind of question, but ask a question that's extracting more information. So, how did you show gratitude today? Where, again, along mindfulness, it has, my daughter being more, it's a thought-provoking answer that I'm now trying to extract from her that's just will take more thinking as opposed to, oh, my day was okay, now she's got to stop and think, and you really get into, inside her head and mind and answer the question. So I found that if I, kind of change my questioning, her answers are going to come back to be, again, just more involved. And that's worked for me.
It's more open-ended questions as opposed to fixed questions or closed questions. Like yes, no.
Is it she? I know you kind of for a long time.
I just wanted to build on your point. My eldest is 4, so we're very new to the school system, and I'm trying to, start developing, that mindfulness with her. And when she talks to me, and sometimes like her thoughts are really scattered, and I'm like, oh, okay, wait a second, and I'm trying to start fostering that behavior now. And we do every night at dinner. I have a list of 4 questions that we ask her, and one of them is, what did somebody do that made you feel really good today? And what did you do to help somebody else today? And what are you grateful for today? So I ask her, and she's 4, so I mean, it's maybe different than your situation, but I'm asking her the same questions on a daily basis, so she kind of knows they're coming, and we're starting to get a little bit more information from her. And I started it because she would come home from school, and I'm like, how's school? And she's, oh, it's fine. And I'm like, I don't know, is it fine? My first experience, I don't know.
Well, because how many times, in a child's life, how many times do they hear that question from how many people? And it's like, yeah, you can rearrange the way that you're asking, and then also set out a time when they know this is the special time for questioning, or for questions, for connecting, for speaking about, what everyone's day was like, and you can contribute to, the aspect of modeling. Someone did this to me, and I felt really amazing about it. They were so gracious with me, and I did this to help them. That modeling aspect. I remember growing up, my mom set out our special time was right before bed, and I knew that this was my moment when my mom was fully there with me, and I could tell her whatever I wanted to tell her, whatever I needed to tell her, even if it was surface or if it was something that was bothering me. I knew that time was there for me, and that she was going to be there for me.
That was just an important piece that Emily brought up, was that you knew that your mom was going to be fully present.
Yeah.
And so part of it is asking the question and also putting your own phone away, or being there with your child when you ask that question.
And sometimes it was just silent. There was no expectation, no pressure to speak, just silent, or I could speak. Voice is so important. Yeah.
I just wanted to share really quick aha when Colleen came up to me and said, thought this makes me feel really uncomfortable. I would have been able to do the negative behavior until she told me it was going to hurt her.
Yeah.
And it just made me realize my 2-year-old does not have the flashing sign to say, Mommy, if you don't pay attention right now, you're going to hurt me. And so our kids may not have the articulation yet, or our spouses may be too shy to say it, but it disabled me being able to be unpresent. She told me that I'm the father real. And I just have to now listen to the words that they won't say.
Yeah. I really liked, I was present for Teresa Wilson's talk about kids have stress too. And a really big takeaway for me was, oh my God, I just lost it. I'll get back to you guys about that. It totally, but that's okay, I'll get it back.
Do you want him first?
Well, one of the things I was trying to say was, like, at dinner time, we try to have those conversations, but then I find that right before bed, suddenly my daughter's like, Mom, something happened to me.
Yeah, that type of thing.
And it just seems like it's, like, I kind of want to be unmindful so that she hurries along with her bedtime routine, right? That are trying to do it. But then it's also, you want to listen, right?
Yeah.
But it's almost like being used as a delayed tactic of an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know if it's a matter of like them knowing that I'm going to be present at that time, or it is just a small tactic so that they don't have to go to bed early.
Right.
Well, I would say in a way, I would say that when we say that it's a stall tactic, we might think again that the child is not listening to us because we want them to do something in that moment.
Yeah.
But if we think of it differently, which is your child has a desire to connect a little longer. So can they connect a little longer? Will it make a big difference in your evening if bedtime doesn't happen at 8, it happens at 9? Like, and you have that, you extend it.
Yeah.
Or you started earlier.
Yeah.
It's the other stuff, you started a half an hour early, so then by the time they're actually supposed to be in bed, they're already in bed.
You can also say, I'm really interested in what you're saying, and I really want to talk about it. Are you okay if we continue this conversation tomorrow and then follow through? If they say, yeah, no problem. Like, oh yeah, it's kind of getting close to bedtime. You can be honest with yourself. Like, I have a little bit of work to do or whatever. I want to be here with you, and I'm really interested in what you're saying. You have to gauge it depending on what she's bringing forward. Like, if it's a really deep, challenge or issue that she's dealing with, then you want to be fully present. But if you feel like there is that tactic of delay, then you can say, I want to hear you, and I want to talk about this. Let's talk. Are you okay if we talk about this?
Yeah.
That's a possibility too. Is that okay?
No, I'm just going to say I have one of those children. One talks all the time, the other one wants in a blue moon. And sometimes it's 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes it's 12 o'clock. And sometimes it's like, even now he's 23, so I'll come home from work and after night shift and I'll wait up for him, just so that, because I know there's little windows where I have to connect with him, because otherwise he's busy. He's got a million things to do. Even when he was younger, that's what I found with teenage years, it'd be like, ready to go to bed. And I was like, Mom, I'm going to talk to you about something. And you know what, I stayed up. We can stay up and I'd be really tired next day at work. And sometimes it depends on the child, I think.
So how do you start, or how do you initiate this connection? Like you have your son, I think
he just knows
he's been
that
talking, but you have somebody who's in the opposite. Like how to establish this connection between mother and son.
So that's what I did, was I just made myself available when he was ready, so he kind of knows. Now, as he grew older, he knew that Mom was going to be there. Then he knows that I'm going to be there regardless.
So he initiates.
Now he initiates.
There's no forcing. Forcing a child to do anything will backfire.
No, not forcing, like waiting and then nothing happens.
Being present, being silent, even sharing a space together is totally fine. It doesn't have to be full of words. But eventually when you have shared this space together and you're present with him, you're whatever you might be doing, then eventually you might find that he'll open up a little bit more and a little bit more. If that's
I'm just going to give you a quick example of what I do sometimes with my like I have a teenage son and a teenage daughter. The teenage daughter is way more expressive with everything that's happening, so she gets her emotions out, and my son doesn't. And sometimes, you know what helps something really simple is that when he's studying, I rub his neck, like right here, because he gets a crook in his neck, so I just rub his neck. And then even though he's not talking, we're just building the trust slowly, slowly. And sometimes, you know, sometimes maybe not in that moment, but maybe later on the day, maybe he'll tell me something. But it's like, I realized that with him, I was feeling like there was no connection happening because he didn't want to express with me. And so it's just a little thing. Again, every parent has their own way. But for me, I really love to, you know, if I can touch, I love touch, and you know, if they're open, again, if you're open to it, it depends on each child. But it's a little thing, but you know, it establishes a connection.
So, I know we all have.
I want to share my experience. So, my wife also sees here. In the morning, we have decided that first session I am going to attend, but she is going to attend. She already attended this session. I have decided for something, and then she recommended me. And by that little exercise, I realized that I was telling my story to my partner, and she was not paying attention. So I think a little bit, oh my God, this is so bad, and I have to speak for 2 minutes. From that little exercise, I realized that I am doing the same thing at my home all the time. So my wife, then she come home, my son and daughter go right at the gate and tell what happened with them during that particular day. When I go home, I'm very organized. That's a good thing, but that's bad here. Oh, let me go and wash my hands first. So I put my bag, lunch bag, check it, clothes, wash hand, and by the time they close their interest. So that's why slowly they have learned that every time they have to share something good or bad, they go to my wife and say it hurt. They never share their feelings with me. So by that little exercise, I really like. And one thing, you raise a very nice question. I mean, how, when we ask person, how you are doing, and they say, short answer, oh, I'm good, Papa. So it means we have chosen the wrong time, wrong way. We should ask more open-ended questions, and we should, I mean, engage with them, just asking questions. And one other thing, maybe that is common for other people. I asked my son and daughter and even my wife something, and they answered. So I listen, but I practically don't listen. So then I asked after some time, what's that? And they said, Papa, I already answered that question. But I didn't listen. So I realized that when they answer, I'm not mentally present there. So to engage with them, I believe we have to be there mindfully.
I have a question about logistically speaking. So I have a couple of kids so I have 3, and they're all fairly young, they're under 5. And so I have a small window of space from when they get home from school to when it's time to bed. In between the time we make dinner, we eat dinner, we clean up, we wash, we do homework. And so most of these are fairly individual and rushed events through the 4-hour window. I'm assuming it's probably not significantly different from everybody else. So what are some of the ways you guys do to find the right time to have the discussion with, or to have that connection with the kids? Because I find it really difficult, and we do that at bedtime, and most of the time I pass out halfway through.
Divide and talk. But can I make a suggestion? When you come home from work, or when you come home from your day, because I noticed this, when I've had not hard day, but a day which is intellectually very engaging, I'm not mindful of myself. Like I'm not even present in the house, like mentally at all. So is there a way that you can make space for yourself, whatever that 15 minutes or 20 minutes you need, just to like intellectually, like almost unwind, but just, you know, it's 4 hours, like you're saying, there's something that you can do, whether it's sometimes, I know it sounds silly, but sometimes people take a shower right when they get home from work because it helps them relax. Anything, whatever it is, 15 minutes of a breathing technique, 15 minutes of, I'm in my room for 15 minutes quietly by myself. Anything, and then what I notice is once you as a human parent, as you are there, once you as a parent are in the room, and you're not, the work stress is kind of, you've washed it away off of you, then whatever happens next, you can enjoy that. Maybe it's a little bit of chaos because of the kids, you engage with it differently and it almost feels more meaningful. And I feel like the hardest thing for all of us as parents, because I've been working on a very tough project for the last week, and it's like when I got home, it's like I'm not, like, and people are trying to talk to me, like, I don't want to listen, I don't even hear anything. I certainly don't want to chat because my mind is not there. And so that's when I realized that for me, it's a 20-minute walk. Just get outside by myself, 20-minute walk, come back, okay, at least I've been in the room with my family. And then every moment that I'm with them, it's because I've been able to kind of create a little bit of separation from my workday. There's joy in that connection, right? The moment feels fuller, even though nothing has changed. It's still bedtime, you still have 3 kids, you still have to put them together. The moment feels fuller. And that's really, when we're going to talk about mindfulness, that's essentially what it is. It's like that moment a second ago, you were stressed out, but now you are here in the present, like that moment has depth. That same moment has depth that a second ago you were distracted and didn't have anything. Right.
No, just a comment. I mean, I have 2 boys, they'll be 9 and 7.5 in January, and my husband and I both work downtown, and both my kids play multiple sports, so it's a nut house. But what I found has helped is like has been said in this room, try not to make the moment, because there's only so much time. But you will find that your kids over time, if you ask them in the car how things are, if they want to talk, they'll talk. If they don't, then eventually at some point when you're with them, they will open up. Make sure you take advantage of that time. It's really important if the dishes are done, and they agitate you that your dishes are full or your sink is full and you haven't got to it yet. They will be in bed and you will have time to do that. Or engage them as you're doing it. Say, you know what, that's a great story, come tell me, but help me with dinner, help me with the dishes, put them in the dishwasher, engage them in what you're doing, rather than make it about, I've got to go do this now, I didn't have time for you, right? Because there's a lot of things, especially as they grow up, and under 5, there's some of the things they can do for you, but get things out of the cupboard for you, get things out of the fridge, here's the glasses, sit at the table with me, but keep talking to me about your story.
Yeah, make it fun and collaborative.
Yeah.
A thing that, it's like community. You have community in your households, right? And so invite them in. Even as parents, one of the pillars that we want to talk to you guys about is that element of vulnerability and authenticity as parents. Invite your children into who you are really. And you first are humans. You're human beings trying your darndest to create a lovely, safe space for your children to grow and nurture and be the best people that they can be. So when you're having moments of stress or when you're feeling a little bit angry or whatever it may be authentic with that and be vulnerable. Invite them into your emotional landscape. Yes, definitely respect boundaries, but you can be revealed as well.
And they will ask you as they get older, how was your day? Because they will know based on what you've said to them when you pick them up, whether or not your day has been good or bad. Because I can always tell if I've had a stressful day, as soon as my kids are in the car with me, they will ask me how my day was. Because they know I'm not as talkative and engaging with them, because I just need my kind of decompression time, like you said. So they actually will engage you as they get older if you're used to that kind of communication with them.
And a big aspect also is that of modeling. We really want our children to have that social and emotional intelligence and landscape so that they can then, when they get older or even at this present time, form positive and beautiful relationships with their friends and with the rest of their siblings and the rest of their family. So when we can model how to deal with strong emotions, or when we can model what being revealed or responsibly expressing emotions, then that can teach them that they can also do that. And anger, stress, sadness, that's okay. You can feel these things. And there are things that you can do, there are different strategies that you can take to be able to calm the body down. Mindfulness is about noticing when these things come up and providing an opportunity to teach the emotional literacy. We had parents say, oh, my child's in 4th or 3 or whatever, they don't know how to express what's going on for them. Great. Yeah, but when the more and more we model that expression, responsible expression, instead of reaction and reactivity from the emotion, will provide a more harmonious household. And it gives them those terms. Oh yeah, right now I'm feeling a bit worried. I'm feeling worried that we're all not going to get enough sleep. And then we're going to be really tired tomorrow. Or I'm feeling a little bit irritated because the dishes are still sitting on the whatever it is. But and you can do so in a light way. It doesn't have to be so identified and so kind of heavy about the emotion. If you're the observer of it, there's this element of taking that little moment to first notice it, notice that you're feeling whatever you're feeling, take that moment to either take a little bit of time to decompress whatever it is, and then come back and you can say, oh, in that moment I was feeling a little bit irritated or I was feeling angry. And you can say my anger was telling me to yell or to scream or to whatever it may be that anger tells us to do. And you can say, well, I didn't want to do that, so I took a moment for myself, I took a pause. And then I revealed this.
I would say often in parenting, and like as everybody's talked about, there's so many aspects, there's so many things that we have to do every day along with our work lives, right? And often what ends up happening is when we're not feeling, again, that depth of connection, we can act from a desire to control our children, right? Or a desire to control their actions. And I know that when my children were little, I used to get really tense that they had to go to bed at a certain time, right? And then I discovered, luckily for me, like I said, I went through this kind of very emotional process of this kind of spiritual transformation, personal transformation, that the control was based on fear, it was based on anger. It led to anger, it led to me expressing anger, but actually it was based on fear, right? So my innermost worry was that my children, somehow they wouldn't be able to get up on time, they wouldn't be a success, that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't doing my job properly, but I was expressing it as control. And as we all know,
and not revealing to them
not
that you had
revealing
that fear.
Exactly. Not revealing to them what was the root of it, but expressing it as control. So therefore, that again, that just leads to stress and disconnection, right?
But like your point with your partners, your partner came to you and revealed how she was feeling about that, and then that automatically changed the way that you related with her.
So it's like if our whole family had a flashing sign that said, you need to pay attention to me or our relationship's going to fade, we would, of course, pay attention. But I just wanted to comment for at least Jen, what's your name?
Oh, Jim.
Jim. I found that there are some life hacks that have had to be put in place to have the time to be mindful. So, like Sundays, the kids know we're going to have a massive cook, and there's going to be 25 chicken breasts made and massive pot. So this is the day when we're going to be in the kitchen totally unavailable. So the whole rest of the week, dinner can be mindless of making it. That way, it's just like, okay, put this on the stove, it's already kind of made, warm it up, or defrost it in the freezer. Because, yeah, doing all of the things well in an evening feels impossible. So I don't know if you guys are in that busyness mode, if there's ways you can make like 4 portions of soup, so every Monday is soup night, or then 4 portions of chili and 4 portions of, you can really make the cooking part of the evening not take as much time. And what I've noticed with my kids, I have a 9-month-old, a 2-year-old, and a 10-year-old, they each need me in different ways. So my 9-month-old wants to be cuddled and nursed. My 2-year-old wants me to just play, even if it's a 10-minute spurt of just play. My 10-year-old wants me to sit beside him on the couch while he watches television, and I have to be in close enough proximity to get a leg over me. And that for him feels like quality time. So I think it's about noticing how our kids interpret that we've been present, and they want it different ways.
Exactly. I remembered what Teresa had said, and that was being the detective, being that social detective, aware of yourself, but then also aware of your children and what they need in that moment. Right? Instead of just seeing the behavior is like the cause, right? But what something underneath the behavior. So when you're the detective, when you're the observer, then you can take that moment to be like, oh, okay, my child is trying to express something to me that they don't really know how to express to me. So it's coming out as a behavior that flaws. But what you want to get to is that soft under.
One of the things I found from our interaction is that my child actually is a lot more aware than I was giving her credit for, because this morning she said something to me and I was like, yeah. And she said to me, Mommy, did you hear me? And I'm like, of course I heard you. I heard you. Of course I didn't hear her. But it was interesting because as we were doing this interaction, I now understand what she felt on the other end of me saying to her, yes, I heard you, which is in fact, no, you didn't. So she says to me, did you hear me? And so, yeah, she's a lot more aware. Children, I'm beginning to realize that she's a lot more aware than I'm giving her credit for.
And those are always signs of, and can I trust? Do I trust that you're hearing me? Do I trust that you're here with me? Do I trust that you're going to be there? And not at all discrediting you, but always in relationship, always showing, always giving signals.
It's about our child feeling, and Ellie and I have talked about this whole idea of feeling like we are enough. It's about our child feeling like they are enough, right? And how we are going to show that to them through our behavior, and how we also need to feel in our hearts like we are enough, so that we can have that relationship with our child. I'm just saying, it can be as simple as that.
Which is a really big point in mindfulness, and that is the journey to become more of an aware parent and conscious parent. Is that a journey? It's an absolute journey. It's like a muscle that you can train. Are you going to be perfect in every moment? Absolutely no, not. What is perfection? With mindfulness, it's not judging yourself. It's a non-judgmental approach to just noticing, observing, being the observer, not the judge. And this is something that we can teach our children as well. Because sometimes the children will think that, feeling a certain emotion is not good. Every emotion is okay to feel. As a parent, every emotion is okay to feel. It's what you do with it that counts. And we only have that choice when we take that little moment. And that's what mindfulness can offer. We had so much more that we wanted to do. Like we were going to, we have all these things that we were going to go and explore, the different elements of the pillars. And that is presence, modeling, authenticity, vulnerability. But I think in our discussion here, we most certainly didn't want to shut it down because we are all on this journey together. And we all have great wisdom to share as people who experience parenting and the joys and the triumphs and also the challenges. And that's where the deep learning happens in those moments.
And it's not, as I was saying, it is a journey, which means that there's no perfect state of always being mindful all the time. Obviously, that's going to be impossible. So it's like if you did do something and you regret it, that's a learning moment for next time. And that's just a way to think about it. Every moment is a learning moment for another moment of connection and deep connection.
So just before we wrap up, I know it's been a long day, Justine and I put together a resource sheet that's going to be put up on the website. So it really does break down the 4 pillars and with the good points there. And also 3 different resource books that we have found have been just fantastic. If you haven't yet heard of Parent Effectiveness Training, PIC, amazing. And then aware.
The other thing I want to mention is PIC is all about active listening, what we just did, deep listening, and how to create those moments of deep conversation with your child. That will be very helpful for every age group, from like a little kid right up into teenagers. And the other book that's really awesome is called The Awakened Family. Some people may have heard of it. The woman who wrote it, she's getting a lot of, she's on Oprah's book club. But even though she's getting a lot of fame, but her ideas are so important. I would highly recommend that book to anybody. The Awakened Family. I've been reading it.
It's on the website, right? Yeah, it's already up there. And also, Justine and I, we run parenting workshops and courses. We were only able to give you a little taste of, the exploration of how we can become more conscious and compassionate parents, and how that is a journey. In an hour, there's only so much that we can do, but we actually are running a workshop in November, at the end of November, and I have some flyers here. If you want to go deeper with these concepts, you're more than welcome to join us. Again, it's very collaborative and exploratory and reflective based, and these are actually 3-hour workshops, but they fly by just like this one, so we can go deeper too.
All right, thank you everybody for coming. So